every now and then, a perfectly ordinary Minecraft world will generate something extraordinary. And in my current survival world, that extraordinary thing is this horse. No, really, this guy just flies. Now, the average horse travels at about 9.4 blocks per second. This guy goes at 13.6, which is pretty close to the maximum possible of 14.2. So yeah, fast horse. He's also the best jumper I've ever seen. I've always considered the ability to jump over 2 blocks to be good, but this guy can clear not 3, not 4, but 4 3/4 blocks. I've never found a horse that had even a single stat as close to those, so finding a horse with 2 extraordinary stats is truly remarkable. So, what did I decide to name this fellow? This absolute god among equines? Dennis. Yes. Dennis and I went everywhere together. We went here and also here, and I pretty much just ride this horse around, looking at interesting places where I could build things, but then I don't. However, everything changed when, upon returning from a trip through the Nether, my horse went through the portal before I did, and it was actually really devastating. Like, I never really got over it. But then Minecraft 1.19.4 came out, which made some really important changes to horse breeding. So it used to be that if you bred 2 horses together, the ensuing offspring would be a mix of the 2 parents averaged with a completely random horse. So that offspring's stats would be all over the place, and it was incredibly difficult to breed a horse that was in any way better than either of its parents. But then Minecraft 1.19.4 came out, and now, when you breed 2 horses together, the offspring will be an average of its parents with a slight chance of deviation, so it is possible to not only breed a horse with maxed out stats, it's possible to breed a horse with specific stats, meaning I can just breed a new Dennis. Welcome to another survival episode, guys, where instead of dealing with my grief in a healthy way, we are going to try to resurrect my old horse. Also, we are actually going to try to breed the perfect maxed out horse, especially if we are going to all of this effort. Now, I'm thinking that the perfect horse should have the perfect environment to live in, so we're gonna find somewhere nice. And we're going to build a beautiful ranch, and we're gonna have a nice big stable and some nice landscaping and basically everything the perfect horse could ever want. Of course, there's a million things in this world that I should be doing but haven't, but this is obviously the most important. So, after quickly packing up, I grabbed my favorite horse and immediately ran into trouble. Oh my gosh, there is a trident guy. Don't hurt this horse. Don't you dare hurt this horse. I don't care if I die, but don't you touch that horse. You see, that horse is actually Dennis's child? So I would really rather that it not die. And not only because, while Dennis's son isn't quite as good as his dad, he still has some way above average stats. And I was also thinking it would be kind of neat if Dennis was a descendant of Dennis, you know? So anyway, I traveled onwards, carefully avoiding the huge danger pit, and then found this really cool savanna plateau with some very friendly llamas. And although I liked it, I decided that it belonged to the llamas, so I continued on my way. Now, I'm also looking for some good horses along the way that I could use as, like, starter stock for my breeding, but These two horses suck. So we continued onwards. I swear these danger pits just come out of nowhere. Ooh, look at this danger ravine that I have to bridge across. You know, maybe bringing a mob that is both high value and highly sentimental was a terrible idea. Ooh, we found some bunnies. No distractions, keep going. Is that the danger snow? It looks like danger snow. No, I don't think it's the danger snow, but I am going to avoid it anyway. And hello, look at this village. Wow, that is such an incredible location. Hold on, horse, where'd you go? Come back here. Oh, so we've got all these mountains to the side. We've got these neat cliffs on that side. A cute little valley in here. Kitty, this would be such a good place to build. Just look at this view. And look at all the free labor. My only concern is that it's a bit hilly in here. So we could build the stables here, but it would take a lot of terraforming. And we need a spot for a speed tester as well, which I think we could put in here. But it's just gonna take a lot of work. Oh, there's more mountains. That's nice. Okay, so I think this spot is going to be the winner, but the perfect horse needs the perfect location. So I think I would be remiss if I didn't just look around a little bit more, because I see it looks like there's some flat land up here. And I mean, building on hills is really difficult, so I just need to check and see if this spot up here is better. Oh, that was almost very bad. Ooh, so it's a big meadow biome. Okay, so this spot up here is really flat. Oh, there's another village. So it would be a lot easier to build on, but the thing is, like, it's just not as scenic as the other one. Like, it's still, oh my goodness. Up? There you go. Okay. And honestly, I love the white flowers, but it's kind of plain. Like, there's no dramatic mountains in the background, no, like, big ravine. So even though there are these mountains here... Uh-oh. Okay, future editing Bjork here. So I was just kind of panicking here and not really thinking. And it took me a while to remember that when you're on a horse, you can't break blocks as easily, but eventually I got off and then it was pretty easy to break the blocks. But the problem is that the horse's hitbox is almost 2 blocks wide, so I had trouble hitting the blocks and not the horse. So I was actually dealing a lot of damage to my poor little horse, and it's completely my fault that he died. Oh, well, that is entirely my fault. That is my fault. Oh. Yeah, so I think the horse's hitbox was just in the way. Like, I just couldn't dig out the snow because the horse was there. Well, here we go again. See, it's easy enough to dig out when it's just me. Well, we're not gonna build there. Alright, so this horse has got to be the slowest I have ridden in my entire life, and it also cannot even jump over 2 blocks. So this is the horse I deserve. After returning to the valley, I built another portal, but I couldn't go through yet. So I had to go all the way home on this extremely slow horse, but we managed to get there without me killing the horse. So I gathered all the resources that I'm going to need, even befriending a new kitty in the process. Now, since I haven't beat the game yet, I don't have shulkers. So the way that I transport large amounts of items over long distances is I build a little rail line along the nether roof, and I'm going to build this portal here at the exact correct location to link up with that other portal. And of course I got it wrong the first time, so we're gonna try again, and it lines up perfectly. So I put all of the items I'm going to need in these little chest minecarts, and we can send them off using a furnace minecart and follow along. Alright, so it looks like they went through and everything worked out, so now we can get to building. So this terrain is really hilly, so we're gonna need to clear out a lot of this dirt, and then this last bit of stone and flat surface complete. And then we start placing blocks and more blocks, and before you know it, the whole thing is done. Okay, this actually took me like 2 days in real life. So I was going for like a rustic and worn look, but I still wanted it to feel like cozy and warm and inviting, and I would say we accomplished that, and I just love seeing those mountains in the background. Now, if we head on inside, I still have to do the floor. We're gonna use packed mud bricks, but I just don't have the resources for that yet. The inside kinda looks a little haphazard with these columns here that don't really match, but that is intentional. It's totally 100% intentional. We also have this little zombie friend who just wandered in. But if we come over here, so I like to incorporate like some storage and some work areas like into the build itself. So this is where all of my building materials ended up, and we've got storage for like all of our saddles and our golden carrots that we're gonna need for breeding. And this thing I was using a lot when building the roof and stuff. So yeah, it's just nice to have like little functional areas. So if we come up here, so this is like a little hay loft. So the idea is you can store the hay up here, and then you walk over here and it's like kind of open, so you can just like throw the hay down there. And over here we have our little barn kitty, as well as a bed. So yeah, I've already been moving some horses in here. So if we go outside, we can actually start breeding. So I would like to start my horse breeding with the best stock that I can find, but all the horses I tested on the way here were not that great. So I went just over the ridge here, and it turns out that one of these spotted horses was actually pretty good. It feels pretty fast when you're riding it, and it can also jump over 3.5 blocks, which is super good. I then went a little bit over this way behind this mountain, and after testing all of these horses, found that this guy with big spots was really good. It can jump over 4 blocks, and maybe a little bit more. So I think this is pretty good stock to start with. And reproduced. Very cool. And it's even already the same coat color and pattern as Dennis. That was extraordinarily lucky. Okay, so if I can get through here, the reason that we have the doors like this is so we can pull the baby horses through and the parents stay in there. That way we can separate the foals from the adults. Now, before we do too much breeding, we need a way to actually measure our horses' stats. That is why we are going to come down here and start filling in this area here, and done. Alright, now we just need to add the actual tester, and look at that, it's also done. Okay, this actually took like 6 hours, and that's because I actually tried to make it look pretty. So I'm trying to make my redstone stuff actually look nice, like it's part of the environment and not a giant eyesore, so it took a while. Alright, let me grab my horse and show you how this thing works. Okay, so you align yourself as best you can, and then you go right on through. Okay. Now, if we go over here, you can see that there is a hopper minecart here, and beneath it is an activator rail. So when the power source is here, the activator rail is turned on, and items from this barrel do not go into the minecart. However, when the power source is gone, then items do flow into the minecart. You put it back, the items stop. So we basically measure the speed of the horse by determining how many sticks go into the hopper minecart while the horse is on the track. Now, a lot of traditional designs use like droppers or hoppers, but items flow into the hopper minecart at a much faster rate than they go into either of those, so we get a better idea of the degree of difference between two horses. So it's a much more accurate measurement of the horse speed. Now, this is really useful when you're trying to breed the best possible horse, because even when there's a minor difference between two horses, it will allow me to know even like which one is slightly better, and thus I can get to breeding the perfect horse a little bit faster. Okay, so let's actually measure this horse's speed this time. Okay, so that's about 70 sticks, which is not bad, but it just felt a little bit faster. So the average horse is about 72 sticks measured using this system, and I think the best possible is 54, so we've got a ways to go. Also, Dennis was 59 sticks, so we are aiming for a 54 stick horse and a 59 stick horse. Okay, so now we need to build a jump height tester, but first I want to do something about this giant flat wall of grass and this little section of hill right here. See, this just looks a little bit awkward, and perfect horse can't be looking at imperfect landscaping. So let's clear some blocks, place some blocks, place some more blocks. Okay, so there's a raid party like over there, and then there's another one over there. Weird. And terraforming is done. Okay, this took like 4 hours, but it was very important, and I am very glad that I did it. Just look at how smooth that landscaping is and how much better it flows. I love it so much. What I don't love, however, is like this little rock formation here. I mean, maybe it just needs more texturing or something, but I feel that it's just a little bit clunky and awkward. Okay, so we really need to get to like actually breeding horses. So I have gone ahead and I have built the jump height tester. Okay, so what's going on here is we have a series of poles that become taller by 1/16 of a block. So the way that we get that to work is we use alternating rows of carpet along with incrementing levels of snow layers at the top. So you see carpet is 1/16 of a block, whereas snow layers are 2/16. So by alternating the layers of carpet, but having identical amounts of snow layers in every 2 blocks, we can get every fractional value of 16. Alright, so I want to see how high this horse can jump. So I know I can clear at least 3.5 pretty easily. So let's try maybe a little bit more. Okay, cool. So we're into 3 11/16. Okay, I can do that one with some to spare. Can it do 3 3/4? No, that was horrible. No, it doesn't look like it. Nope, definitely not. But yeah, having a mechanism to get a more accurate measurement of my horse's stats is going to help us get to the perfect horse faster. But in any case, now that we have both of these measurement devices laid out, we can start actually getting to breeding. I actually was doing a bunch of breeding while I was doing all of those building projects. So let's take this guy and run him through the tester, and that is not good. And they don't seem to be a great jumper either. Well, I guess it makes sense that some of the horses we breed are just gonna be all around worse than their parents. Okay, so I've been trying to write out the stats of all the other horses I've been testing, and it's clear this stable is just not going to work. You've got horses here and there and everywhere, and it's already completely full and overcrowded, even though I've barely bred any horses already. We're just gonna come out back here and maybe right here, just a big line of fence posts. And then you can go right there, and the label can go on top of the fence post just like that. And I think it will be much easier, even though it's absolutely hideous. Alright, so I just finished testing all of the horses that I bred from those two parents, and I bred 13 of them, and long story short, about 4 of them are worth keeping and breeding. So if we go back and look at the parent stats, so they're about between 70 and 74 sticks in terms of speed, and then under 3 and 3/4, and then 4 and 1/4. So the vast majority of these horses, in terms of speed, were actually slower than the slower parent. So both of them here are 76 sticks. That one's kind of on the tail end. That one's also slower, tail end, way slower. It was only like these 4 here that actually started getting better than 70 sticks. And I mean, speed is really what I think the most valuable thing in a horse is. So, I mean, about 25% of the children being better than the parents is not bad, honestly. So 1 in 4, but these were like the last 4 I tested, so I was kind of thinking, did none of them actually turn out to be better? But yeah. So the question now is, are any of these ones worth keeping? And I'm thinking no, because these ones are actually like both really fast and really good jumpers. So even though we do have some pretty good jumpers that are pretty slow, I just don't think it's worth it to keep them in the gene pool, because they're just gonna drag everything else down and like maybe produce a child that's a better jumper. So I've actually kind of already been breeding these two together, but let's which one are the fastest? Where's my, I have 265 horses. Yeah, okay, so let's breed this one, and I think it was, no, it's this one. Come here. Come here. With the children relocated, it is now time to build something very special. So we're going to come over here to where these trapdoors are, and we are just going to dig all the way down. Okay, so now if we hollow out some area back here, and this. Okay, if we put that in there, and perfect. Okay, I did a lot of work off camera, and this thing is now functional. So when you, well, press that button or go down here, items that land here will automatically get dispensed thanks to this. So just to demonstrate, we can put that in there, and then they'll go through like a little soul sand elevator that I have up here, and then we just put that back. So they'll go here, and then we're gonna end beneath those stairs, just like that. So the entire point of this is that this is how we can send the horses that don't make the cut off to horsey heaven. So starting with Socks here, I'm sorry buddy, but you are perfectly mediocre, so you're kind of gonna have to come this way. So the reason we have that thing there is because I don't want to just like kill the horses with a sword, because they make that like god-awful sound, and I don't want to just like push them down a hole that has nothing, that has no sort of like reclaiming mechanism, because I want to, like when I come back from testing them and they're wearing a saddle like that, I kind of want to get the saddle back without having to like take it off or anything. And I also want to get the horse heads like this. So I like to collect the heads and just use them as like decoration or for like armor stand stuff. So that's why I have this entire collection here. So I'm so sorry, Socks, but you can be extraordinary in horse heaven. After that, I spent some time making and testing horse sandwiches, and interestingly, I found that in every generation of a dozen or so horses, there were always 4 that were better than their parents in terms of both jump height and speed, and it was like no more, no less. But yeah, I have found that you can get incrementally better horses just by breeding the best children with each other, and that's how you get the best genes. There are so many horses just everywhere now. Nothing horrible will happen here. Horrible things have been done here. But you know what? I am so sick of breeding horses at this point. But you know what else I am sick of? This god-awful floor. So I want like a bunch of packed mud in order to make this look not horrible, basically. So I think it's time to do some more building. Now we're gonna build something over on this hill over here. This also means that all of this needs to go as well. Then we can start placing blocks and removing blocks for the basement, where we will put some redstone components that make up this fully functional moss farm, which we will allow to run while we finish the rest of the build. I'm just finishing up the roof, but as you can see, there are multiple raiding parties at the same time again. Hey! Well, I guess you can see the build as I finish this guy off. So anyway, I enticed over some of the free labor to provide us with infinite wheat, and we are using my patented multi-villager curing system to get all of their trades down to 0. And now the villagers should navigate right into the wheat machine. Right into the wheat machine. Perfect. Okay. So, a lot of time has passed, and these things have been running for quite some time. So, the entire point of this entire endeavor was to get massive amounts of wheat that I could turn into this floor here, as well as lots and lots of golden carrots. So let's begin by going down into the basement to see the bone meal farm. So this is the basement, and this here is the moss/bone meal farm by Cami Blank. Alright, so let's use free cam to see what's going on. So moss will be created here, and then it will be sent through this tunnel here, and then up here into the composting system, where it will be turned into bone meal that is dispensed right there. So this farm is self-sustaining in terms of bone meal, so any bone meal needed by the farm will get absorbed into that hopper there. But when the system is full, the bone meal should come right through here, just like that, and it will flow up that tunnel there, up that pipe there, into the villager crop farms here. So these crop farms are by Jurassics, and the way they work is they will automatically dispense bone meal whenever there is a change detected right there, so the wheat is grown automatically and then harvested by the villager. Now all of the wheat ends up going in the chests down here, and of course you get a little bit of bone meal and some wheat seeds because the villagers will compost extra things in their inventory. Now those composters need to be there because I have been taking that wheat to trade with them for emeralds, which I use to buy golden carrots. So these guys have been fully cured, so I can sell wheat for 1 emerald and then buy 3 carrots, and I have a bit of net profit of emeralds. Now I've got a bit of a storage system out here, and I've been doing some trading in the meantime while I was doing stuff, and I have a ton of golden carrots, as well as some emeralds saved up. Now, if we head outside, I can show you the build itself. So, it was made in the same style as the other one, and it feels just so rustic and so cozy, and I love it. But yeah, the villager crop farms are in the main part of the building there, and we have this little storage area over here with a ton of stuff in there, and then the basement entrance is right here. Now, I thought I'm just gonna do a little bit of a path in front of this building so it looks nice for the YouTubes, and then I spent literal days working on terraforming and landscaping throughout this entire area. So first off, this is what this place looked like before I did any terraforming, and now if we use FreeCam to just kind of like fly by, you can see just how much smoother the entire thing is, how much better it flows. It just looks so neat. Oh, and it's so much better. So this is actually just the second time I've done any sort of terraforming like this in survival, and it wasn't easy. And I don't think it's perfect, and it's also like not completely done yet. You can see where I just kind of stopped, but I'm so happy that I did this. I think it feels just so much better, and if we take our horse and ride down here, like it just feels like so much smoother to ride over this terrain. Yeah, now compare that to going on this unterraformed section over here. It's not as good. Now, I also did a ton of landscaping over in this area here. So I kind of extended the track a little bit, and then I put in this retaining wall made out of tuff next to the track, and we've got a nice little park bench where people can sit and they can like watch the horses go through here. And I also added everyone's favorite kind of tree, the birch tree. Okay, so people tend to hate on birch, but I think they're just perfect for this landscape. Okay, so something like spruce, which is a little bit darker, would just blend in with all of like the brown, earthy tones that we have everywhere, but the white bark of the spruce kind of matches the mountains up there, and it provides contrast with all of the more like browner woods that we just have everywhere. Also, I did put the mud bricks into the stable here, and it just feels so much more complete now. But now it is time to get back to the horse breeding. So this is where we're at currently. We have two horses that have the maximum possible jump height of 5¼ blocks. And we also have a horse with the same coat color and pattern as Dennis, who is just one stick too slow, but it has the same amount of jump height as Dennis. So what I think I'm going to do now is I am going to take the Dennis potential horses down in the valley, and I'm going to try to breed for Dennis down there, but I am going to try to breed the perfect maxed out horse up here. And it also turns out that 57 sticks is what the best possible horse will measure at using my horse testing system. So I actually went into a creative world to test the best possible horse because I felt that something was off here, and it turns out that if you put the repeater on the finishing side of the tester, then the best possible horse will test at 57 sticks, but if the repeater is on this side and this is like scooted over one, then the best possible horse will test at 54 sticks. And I am not sure why. Perhaps they changed something with delay and pistons, but in any case, that means that my 58 stick horse is very nearly maxed out already. I mean, we still have to work on the health, but it turns out that we're way closer than I thought. However, I don't think that it's going to be easy though, which is kind of why I wanted all of these golden carrots. They can actually be used to help the babies grow up much faster. And then, once they have grown up, they're much easier to tame because the golden carrots actually reduce the amount of effort it's going to take for them to become tame, so you can do everything so much faster. Okay, time has passed, horses have been bred, and many lessons have been learned. So I had a bunch of horses with some pretty decent stats, but they didn't have a whole lot of health. So the maximum possible is 15, and we had a bunch with 12. Also, it would be a good time to mention that some horses have a secret half heart of health. So if you hit one and you can still see there's full hearts there, that means they have that secret half heart. So basically, it took a long time to breed any horses who had 13 hearts. After that, it took much longer to get any horses who had 13.5 hearts. And then I was breeding all the 13.5 heart horses with each other, and I basically kept only getting more horses with 13.5 hearts. No, really, there was actually an insane amount of 13.5 heart horses. Like, that entire little pasture there was filled to the brim with horses, all with 13.5 hearts. And I actually had to push a bunch of them into the hole. But then eventually we got a one horse with 14.5 hearts, and then we were able to get a few more. So I had this theory that if you breed together two horses with a near identical stat, then their children will all pretty much only have that stat. So what I did here was I bred some of the 14.5 heart horses with some of the 13.5 heart horses instead of with each other, and almost immediately I got 15 heart horses. Also, I may have kind of started using a mod to test these horses. So I have the mini HUD mod, which will show you horse speed and jump height in the top left up there, and it's just so much faster and so much easier to use. One thing that I did want to show though is I have two horses who have nearly maxed out stats though. So this guy, if you look in the top corner, has a jump height of 5.292 when the maximum possible is 5.293. And this perfectly ordinary looking gray horse has a speed of 14.222 when the maximum is 0.23. So it's just incredible that we have two horses that somehow just managed to get like near perfect stats. Okay, so I was thinking about what to name this guy, and I was thinking like maybe Grace because it's gray, and then I remembered that influencer mom trend where you put like Lee, you know, with that kind of spelling at the end. So this horse's name is going to be Grace Lee. And on the Dennis front, all of these guys had 12.5 hearts because I basically took them from the 12 heart horses up there. And so I'm just trying to get their health down to the proper 10.5 a little bit. Now, you may have noticed, but I got really tired of breeding horses, so I did a little bit of terraforming and landscaping around here. Okay, so first off, these cliffs. So this area kind of used to look like this. It was very boring and plain and horrible. And I had this thought, like, what if Dennis comes into the world in this field behind us, and the first thing they see is that horrible looking cliff? No, no, no. So I spent some time fixing up this area here, and I even added this like secret little section back here, so you kind of have to crouch over this, and then you come in just like this. And so I was thinking, this is just a placeholder. Now we could take Dennis Jr.'s head, who kind of got deceased earlier, and there we go. So yeah, this was just kind of like a cute little memorial for Dennis Jr. May you rest in peace, buddy. I think they'd be happy to be remembered like this. Now anyway, if we come back out through here and go over this way, I made an axolotl pond. So this area used to be a big danger hole with big danger spikes, but now it's a cute little pond. So I spent a lot of time like working out what the edges of the pond should be like, because, you know, a pond looks kind of unnatural if it's just, you know, water with plain grass like this. But if you add a bunch of like rocks and like decorations, and I just really love like these tough retaining walls and like lily pads and stuff, then it looks like so much more natural. Okay, now back to the horses. Okay, a lot of time in real life has passed, many horses have been bred, and let me show you where we're at. So I've moved out into this like big open field that's a little bit of ways away from the rest of the ranch because it's just so much easier this way. So after several days, and I mean full days in real life of breeding, these are the best horses I have. So what I'm trying to do here is get the basically perfect horse. So that is 15 hearts, over 14.2 meters per second in speed, and over 5.25 meters in jump height. So after breeding about 200 horses, I have 4 of them that can go over 14.2 in speed and are also over 5.1, kind of on the higher end in jump height. I also have these 3 that are over 5.25 in jump height and also 14.1 or higher. And of course, all of these are 15 heart horses. And then I have a bunch that are 15 hearts, and then at least like 14.1 and over 5.1. I also installed a mod that allows me to see the horse's stats just by mousing over. Now you can see that the speed is a little bit inaccurate compared to mini HUD, but it's still a very useful gauge for seeing how good a horse is. I don't have to like wait for the kids to grow up and then like tame them and ride them just to see what their stats are. And considering the sheer amount of horses that need to be bred at this stage, like it just saves me so much time, and also so much golden carrots. I've also had a lot of questions this whole time about what the actual formula for horse breeding was. Like, is there any strategy I should be using with like picking specific horses? So I actually went and I decompiled Minecraft source code, and I spent weeks, literal weeks in real life running a bunch of tests to see, you know, how things worked and like if I should be breeding specific horses with each other. And I'll be coming out with a full video about that like soonish, but the gist of it was basically you have the highest chances of getting a maxed out horse if you breed your best horses together. So I know, super disappointing conclusion, but that was still really useful to know. I also wanted to know the probabilities of getting my version of the basically perfect horse would be if I bred specific horses together. So I found out that by breeding these guys together, I basically have a 1 in 50 chance of getting the optimal horse. So I've just been breeding and breeding nonstop, and I am certain I've bred way more than that, but I still haven't gotten my almost perfect horse. Okay, time has passed, those horses have grown up, and let me tell you, they are mediocre. So I have this hole over here that I call the burn pit. So whenever I get horses I don't want, I just kind of like push them into the pit. Go in the pit. Go in the pit. So once all these horses have grown up, you just start swinging the sword. Okay, so we got almost 2.5 stacks of leather. This is the first white horse's head I got, and we got a bunch of other ones too. So that was a pretty good haul. So I was thinking maybe the horses need a little bit of encouragement to produce a good offspring. So since we have so many heads, why don't we put one of them right here? And then that'll be just like a fun little reminder of what will happen to your children if you don't produce good ones. Okay, are you gonna produce good ones? Nope. Well. Also, no. Okay, so I recorded a time lapse of an entire day's worth of breeding, but naturally it broke. So enjoy this short time lapse of me doing a single round of breeding, and then bringing all of the children over to the burn pit. So this is Troll Horse. It's the only horse that is over both 14.2 and 5.25, but it has 14.5 hearts. Okay guys, this might be it. So this horse has all of the right numbers, and I think if we just make them grow up real fast. Okay, and then tame them. Okay, so 15 hearts, very good. And moment of truth. No! It's literally 0.001 too short of being my basically perfect horse. No! Okay, I think we may have actually done it this time. So this one does look like it has the right stats, but I have been disappointed before. Okay, 15 hearts, very good. Moment of truth. Yes! Yes, we finally did it! Oh! Poor kids. Okay, in all seriousness, my soul hurts, my wrist hurts, everything hurts. I cannot understate the amount of effort it took to get one single horse that meets these standards. Okay, so let me show you the amount of horses I have. Cold is almost 900 horses. So that is the sheer amount of breeding it took to get to the spot. And I mean, you know, I didn't cull like every horse I bred, so you know, it was a lot more than that. But yeah, no, it's been like 4 literal days in real life. This was a long process. Okay, but now that we have a single maxed out horse, it's time to breed Dennis. But first, I think I am just going to bury this horse. This is by far the most valuable thing I have in this world, and replacing this guy would take literal days. I'll come back for you, perfect horse. I just don't want anything to happen to this guy. Future Bjork here, and my Dennis time-lapse failed as well, but I pretty much only had to breed all of the horses you see here before... Okay, so it's only been like an hour or so of breeding, and I already have a horse that is very promising. Okay, so the jump height is 4.75, perfect. And we're about to go through the horse course and see how many sticks it gets. Now there may be some horses in the way, but it'll just go right through them. Okay. And moment of truth. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that we actually pulled that off. And it only took like an hour and a half too. Like I wasn't even breeding for 4 days like I was with the other ones. Well, I'm not sure what to say, honestly. Like, I thought I would be more excited, but I've been working on this video for 4 months, and at this point, I think I just feel a little bit tired. It is interesting, though, that it was easier to breed a specific horse than it was to breed a maxed out horse. And after having looked at the code and done a ton of math, there's a reason for that, but I'll have a video out on that eventually. But in any case, I have learned that I am not to be trusted with the safety of horses. So let me grab my shovel and we're just gonna dig a little hole right here. Let's make it a little bigger. You know, Dennis deserves a big hole. You should make this deeper. Alright, perfect horse. You get to just live in there until I can construct you your own perfect stable. Okay, I know this video is getting kind of long, but horses deserve it. And I was thinking before we end the video, we could just do a really quick shaders tour and I can show you in more detail like all the horses I've got. Okay, so this is our main stable. I am absolutely in love with this building and we've got room for a few horses in here. So over here, all of these guys are over 5.25 jump height, though their other stats kind of vary. This is Graisley, who is almost as fast as a horse can be, 4.22 in speed. Now I have a bunch of faster horses that I'll show you in a bit. If we come out this way, we've got some more room for horses. And then over here is our custom trees as well as the racetrack. There's probably a much better view from up here. I just love standing here and just looking out at the mountain and the racetrack and everything, and the custom terraforming and the jump height tester. So nice. I mean, we still need to clean up like all the horses and find and make like a permanent stable for them, but I think that is a future project. So if we go down here, this is our little axolotl pond, and I just love walking by here every single time I go between the two different stables. And I think the yellow one disappeared, but we'll just ignore that. So I love having all these like random horses just wandering around because all of them are really, really good. So if we go up here, this is our other stable with the villager wheat machines inside and the little storage off to the side. I just love this little area here. I love how like the dirt kind of blends between the grass, and it just makes the building look more like it's actually part of the environment. Now if we go through, down here is the valley where I bred my basically perfect horse. And from this side you can get a much better view of how many like really, really good, like almost perfect, but not quite there horses that we have. So this column here is so most of these are 15 heart horses, but this column here is anything over 14.2 and 5.1, and then this here is anything over 14.1 and 5.2, and this horse is such a troll. Look at that, it's 0.001 off. And then these, I have so many of these ones. These are 14.1 and then also over 5.1 in jump height. And then these over here are basically anything over 14 and or 5.0. So one or the other, but not both. This is my little poll of encouragement. I don't think it really helped. So I decided I wanted to have one of every horse in every color and coat pattern that are all like actually pretty decent. So I've got little collections going over here, and I think I have most of the rest in like various other parts of the world, but all of the horses in those pits are actually really good horses. So this is my pit of horses that had like one really good stat, and then the other two were either just like okay or they were also pretty good. So like this one, for example, 5.2, 14.1, but it's 14.5 hearts. But that's still just like a very handy horse to have around in your world. And in like any other update, like any single one of these would have been really exceptional horses. But speaking of really exceptional horses, these are my pastures for like the actually really exceptional horses. So over here is like my over 5.28 jump height. So all of these, as you can see in the corner, this one's 5.29, which is almost as high as it can get. But speaking of almost as high as it can get, these three over here, so I have two that are 5.292 in jump height, so that's 0.001 off from the max, and it was this one actually. Okay, so I have two that are 5.291, I guess. And then these are my really, really fast horses. So this one goes 14.229 meters per second, and I have never seen or heard of anyone else who has a horse that is quite that fast. I know someone else has a 14.226, but mine is 0.003 faster. Not that it really makes that much of a difference, but it's really cool to have a horse like this. Yeah, so I have two of them that are also that fast, and oh my goodness, these guys just fly. But yeah, I want to build a bunch of proper stables in this valley someday so that like I can organize the horses and keep them safe. But as the sun sets, I think it is time to call it a day for this video. So, if you're one of the 300-ish people who watch my way too long survival videos, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, if you want to see more horse content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.